Grand Negus Zek goes on a business safari to open new territories for financial exploitation. Quark prays to the blessed exchequer, and Ezri Dax is the closest friend Brunt has ever had. Well, in the Mirror Universe, that is. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Today we're doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 7, Episode 12, entitled The Emperor's New Cloak, written by Ira Steven Behr and Hans Beimler, directed by, a little bit of trivia on this one, LeVar Burton. This was 1999, February 3rd. We have a very special guest, one of our favorite humans ever, Mr. ARMIN SHIMERMAN. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Hello to everyone. Hello.
Welcome, Armin. Good to see you again. As always, a pleasure.
Everybody, you are in for a treat. Armin is wonderful. He brings us such great insights, and you're really going to love this. You're going to love Cirroc too, by the way, but you already know that. First of all, it did say in memory of Jerome Bixby. I don't know if you guys know anything about that.
Yes, Jerome Bixby was the author of the first Mirror Universe episode called Mirror Mirror. So that's why he had passed away, and it was a dedication to him.
Right. We're told that he wrote 4 episodes, the original series, and of the Twilight Zone as well. So Cirroc has certainly seen some of his works.
Wow.
But that was interesting. I didn't know about him until I saw that dedication at the beginning.
He's one of only, I think, 2 people that I can remember that got that kind of a special dedication. Who was the other one? It was the NBC executive that passed away.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I don't remember his name, but you're right.
Brandon Tartikoff.
Tartikoff.
Right. Tartikoff had a special credit in one episode that we watched a few seasons back, and I did notice Jerome Bixby. I didn't know who he was, and I'm glad you guys kind of brought him up. Clearly, they wanted to pay homage to him.
Mm-hmm. So this, okay, I said Mirror Universe, but in this episode, they keep calling it the alternate universe. Rom definitely hits that point home. But can you, Armin, can you paint the picture for us here? Because this is the middle of the 7th season, and everybody knows this is the last season. At least I assume everybody at least knew it or had a very strong idea that it was. Do you remember what the mood was like? Was it kind of like Friday fun time? Was it spring break? Summer break is coming? Were people somber? Was there a different, or was it business as usual?
It was pretty much business as usual, with the one exception, for me anyway, and I can't speak for the others, because Nicole de Boer had just come aboard the show. I noticed that they were writing a lot of episodes for Nicole because she was a new toy for them to play with. Mm-hmm. And so, and I, for one, and I'll speak for Renee because I had this conversation with him. We were delighted that the writers were focusing on Nicole and not on us, because we had more time off that way. So that was the only difference. Aside from that, it was business as usual. And as I have said before, this was the required Ferengi episode that they would write for me and the others during every season. Sometimes there were 2, sometimes 3 episodes.
Yeah, Ira kind of alluded to that when we talked to him about Nicole's presence here in the 7th season. One of the things that he was talking about was, really trying to spend the beginning or first half of this 7th season introducing her character and giving her a lot to do. And I noticed that in several episodes, there would be just one scene with some of the main cast, and then they'd have the rest of the episode off. And I thought to myself, the very sentiment that you made, Armin, which is, I'm sure people were happy that they got more time off.
Right, because I am a Ferengi. We got paid the same whether we did a full episode or whether we only did a half hour on one episode. So and the residuals are the same too. So yes, I for one was delighted that Nicole had so much work to do.
Did you find it not just for the time off, but did you find it, like you said, the writers, they kind of had a new toy to play with, a new pawn or queen in the game of chess with which they could see how Worf reacts to her, how Bashir reacts to her, how it's like new storylines are created through this. Was it also fun as an actor to have a new person to bounce off, as an actor and also playing your character? Did you feel that same way, or was it just like, here's a professional actor, I'm a professional actor, it's gonna be great no matter what?
No, it was fun. Nicole was a new spirit on the set, so it was great to get to know her better and to work with her. And because she was new, as any new actor on any project would be, she was working her ass off in order to be as good as the rest of us. We had been doing these characters for 6 years, 7 years, and she was trying to catch up as quickly as she could. And there was great dedication in her work. So it was a delight to work with her because she was working in the way that I particularly like, which is to work at your fullest potential. And it was easy in the seventh year to sort of not come in with your A game because you had been doing it for a long time. So she reminded us to play our A game.
Armin, now we're in the 7th season, and when I first started watching this show, I was really amazed by how well you understood your character and how almost solidified it was right from the beginning. I felt
day one, yeah.
From day one, Quark was had assurance of himself and who he was and his identity. And I think that is a credit to how you portrayed him. And now 7 seasons later, I still see that level of consistency in your performance. You have this really amazing ability to walk this line of comedy and drama that you do so well. And as I've watched over the seasons, I just keep admiring how you do that. And particularly the chemistry between you and Renee, I think it just blows me away. I love the way the opening scene where he's kind of Odo's kind of poking at you for having feelings about Ezri, and he does a line where he says, "I think they left holding hands," just to really rub it into you. And I just love the chemistry there, and I wanted to give you my full flowers, as they say, for the amount of work that you do as Quark, and just that subtlety that you do. Not super far like Rom goes, all the way into full comedy. You give us that balance as a Ferengi of just enough comedy, but also just enough drama. And where does that emanate from in your classical studies of acting?
Well, thank you, Cirroc. Thank you very much. Let me start by addressing your first comment, which is I seem to have the character down from day one. Well, let us remember that I had played Ferengi on Next Generation, so I had a head start.
Good point. Yeah.
So I did sort of know where I was coming from. And as I've said ad infinitum, my whole intention of playing Quark was to try to eradicate those performances on Next Generation, which I considered to be god awful. As far as chemistry, as you know, Cirroc, as Ryan knows, as almost everybody knows, Renee and I had a very special friendship very quickly in the filming of Deep Space Nine, and that chemistry, that friendship, just blossomed more and more as we worked together. So there was something always there, because we weren't just characters; we were also very good friends, very close friends, and we had to play against that sometimes, but it always seeped in to our scenes together. So that was just art imitating life,
Is that something you did on the back and forth when you guys communicate? Did he like pull your card and tease, and you kind of go back at him and rib at him? Was that?
I don't think I ever went back and ribbed him, but I certainly did tease in real life. Yeah. But you have to understand, or you don't have to understand, but I will tell you where I'm coming from, which is I'm a theater actor. Renee is a god in the theater world. And although we were peers on the show, I never really got over the fact that he was theater royalty. And I was just a working Joe in the theater. I'm a good actor on stage, but Renee was a prince. And so I never ribbed him because I respected him too much. But we got along great. It was a great relationship. So there's that. And
well, everybody,
as far as my classical background, my agenda, as I alluded to just a moment ago, was to try to rehabilitate the Ferengi after I had sabotaged them on TNG. And so that was always there. And I did not want to make them one-dimensional, or at least I did not want my character to be one-dimensional. So I always was looking for ways to make Quark three-dimensional. And as Ira has told me, and perhaps she's told other people as well, if they wanted out-and-out farce, they were smart enough to say, let's give it to Quark, to Rom, because Armin either can't do it or won't do it. And so I was left with the more comic, dramatic lines than perhaps Max was, or even Aaron sometimes, because they were intrinsically more, in my opinion, more comic actors than I was. I always approached this character as a dramatic character who happened to say comic things.
Mm-hmm. We're so glad you did. I wanted to point out to everybody at home, when Armin called Renee a god, that is proof that it was not just Weyoun that considered Odo to be a god. He really was in real life. You heard it here.
A founder. He's a real life founder.
Period. Fictionally or in real life, he's a god.
I tell everybody who's listening to this, take a moment, go and look up what Renee did on stage. It is a resume beyond everybody else's. He played Lear at 25 at an extremely important theater, ACT in San Francisco. His theater background is colossal, and you can understand why I was awed by that.
So I did want to now, Cirroc already kind of said this, but I really want to hit it more because I wrote it in my notes a few times. And Armin, it's not that I didn't notice it in the first 6 seasons, but in this episode, it hit me. I was like, Armin in the 7th season is so committed to his character. And it was so interesting to see the level of commitment of putting like a little ... in your delivery. Or if something needs to go big, you hit it big. And I was really impressed because, it's not 100% necessary. Somebody in the 7th season could just read the lines. They're cool. They're great. And I know no actor would really do that, but it really hit me how much you are committed to your character and how you took no lines off. Every line was like 100% effort. And first of all, I just want to thank you for that because, as the consumer, we appreciate that you didn't take one line off, that you gave everything you had to every scene you had. And I think that's, I just really appreciate that. And I think it was great. And it truly shows 25 years later. I just was wondering, was this a conscious effort? Did you, as actors, all of you maybe, have to remind yourselves, like, you got to go on 100% every time, no lines off? Was this sometimes directing, like where a director would say, all right, everybody, wake up, more energy or something like that? Where did this come from?
I don't know is the answer. And I can take a guess, and that's all it is a guess. Because I was fortunate to be doing 2 TV shows at the same time, it was like doing repertory theater. You don't get stale, you don't get bored, because you're going away to do something else. And I would come back every week from Buffy or the other things that I was doing. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I guess, would energize me to go back to Deep Space Nine and do the best I could. But I also think because I knew we were coming to the end, that was no secret, that there was only so many limited opportunities to do the best work. And this was, as I said before, a Ferengi episode, which meant that to some extent, I needed to shoulder the responsibilities of being one of the main characters in a Ferengi episode.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it too, is like, I see you as the most level-headed and rational thinking Ferengi out of them all. Actually,
that's not saying much.
Quark agrees with you.
Because you've got Brunt over here, and he's like a little, and Zek, he's all over the place.
What do you mean I'm all over the place?
Yeah, and I feel like you're like the voice of reason, like out of all of this. And
so why didn't they make me the Nagus?
That's what I'm saying. Why didn't they make you the Nagus? It makes more sense to me. But yeah, because I see all of them kind of doing this, like, these harebrained ideas, and most of your harebrained ideas revolve around trying to get the girl you like, impress the girl that you like. But you don't really, outside of that, it's like you're practical. How much am I going to make? What's the deal? Let's do it. But I do see that, in this episode, you've got all these Ferengi, and I'm looking at Quark and I'm saying, well, you really drive the story, for one, because, I wouldn't really be that into this story if it wasn't for the performance that you give in this episode. Absolutely. I think you drive the story, you keep it interesting. And I also kind of was interested in seeing Ezri in this kind of different format. We just saw her now, so we're just getting to know her character. And now we see her as a kind of a badass version of herself, which I was kind of into. I was like, okay, this is kind of early for her, but we get to see some of her acting chops as well, but mostly bounce off of your performance and you giving as much as you do. And I guess that's the root of my question, is when you are doing these performances, a lot of what you do is also setting up other people or giving, and in the actor space. I feel like Rom's lines don't hit as hard if you don't set it up. It's like, you're like throwing an assist up there, an alley-oop kind of play, and you do that throughout this episode for other characters.
Yeah.
And is that something that also that you kind of get from your theater background, like setting up other people?
You've hit the nail right on the head there. Yes, it is from my theater background. I've always considered myself an ensemble player. I'm always one of many people in a cast. Whether I'm playing Hamlet or whether I'm playing Fortinbras, I'm just one of the people in the cast. And I'm always aware there's a time when it's my turn to take center stage, and there's a time when others take center stage. And in order, understanding that, then it's my job to queue up the other people so that they have their opportunity. So yes, that is my theater background. It is. I've worked with actors, I'm sure so have you, Cirroc, that when it's their time off camera, when they're feeding you the lines, there's nothing there because they're not on camera, and they're just saying the words, and there's no performance to work off of. I never liked that. I've never believed in that. I think it's horrible to do to your fellow actors, and so I always, if I'm not center stage, and it's my job to support the person who is.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my theater background.
You know, Cirroc, I was thinking about you when Brunt popped in, speaking of which, and I wanted to ask you specifically, Cirroc, because this is the first time you've seen this episode. How weird was it to see Brunt show up and just be like, "Hey, everybody, I'm here to help you out. I'm just a nice guy." Were you thinking like, what's the catch? I mean, it almost felt foreign to see Jeffrey Combs playing a nice guy, but beyond that, one that was genuine. there was nothing, no other real motive other than his attraction to Ezri that we found out later. There was that subtext there in the way he delivered his lines. But I mean, did it take you off guard?
Yeah, a lot of these episodes, these alternate universe or mirror universe or whatever, however they like to explain it. A lot of these episodes take me off guard, and they're very difficult for me to follow. I'm just trying to learn the cast and the situations that they're going through. So when you throw me for a loop like this, and I have to relearn and re-coordinate myself, it's kind of difficult because I'm thinking, what's going on? Why do they need this? Why isn't there a warp drive cloaking device in this universe? How many universes are there? I mean, how many alternate universes are there? It's just an infinite number.
Yeah.
And am I meeting the intendant from the alternate universe that I met from before, or is this a different intendant? So all of those things kind of go through my head, and it kind of leaves me a little bit lost in the story, which is why these kinds of episodes are not my favorite. But once again, when you do have an episode that's not your favorite, then you have to find the things that you do like about it and try to extract those things. So I do like, Armin, your performance as Quark. I do like Andy Robinson and his performance in this episode. And so I'm going to now just go on, smaller things. I thought, for example, Rom was fantastic.
I was waiting for it. I was like, here comes the Rom accolades because he deserves it. He went, and it felt like almost like Max was thinking every one of these lines, I'm going to hit a home run. It just seemed like he was really, especially in the second half of the episode, he was really crushing it for me. It was just like he hit every line that was intended to be comedy, and he made it that much better. We do have to take a super quick break, but there was also another connection between the previous Mirror Universe episode that we'll have to do on the other side. I know everybody got to wait like 4 seconds, so we'll be right back with that, and that'll be on the Seventh Rule. Stick around. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc, Lofton, and Mr. Armin Shimmerman.
Hello.
Here very quickly are the Trivioids of the week that may or may not have made the cutting room floor. Here they come. Grand Nagus Zek went on a business safari to open new territories for financial exploitation. Quark prays to the blessed exchequer. Quark opened negotiations with Ezri opened negotiations with Ezri a few weeks ago, but can't seem to close the deal. Quark wants to be called Shmun. Rom thinks Mirror Universe Ezri is much taller. Rom would have liked to meet himself. That was a fun one. Grand Nagus Zek loves having his ear hair tugged. Ezri is the closest friend Brunt has ever had. Regent Worf's sinuses are clear for the first time in years, and Kira kills Brunt. So there's a lot of weird stuff in there, especially the ear hair stuff. But
shall I talk about the last one? Kira killing Brunt?
Yeah.
Okay. So in each of the mirror episodes or the alternate universe episodes that on Deep Space Nine, the writers were eager may not be the right word, but certainly killed off one Ferengi each time. So in the first one, Quark died. In the second one, Rom died.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if this is the third one or not. I think it is, but then Brunt dies. So they were just going through the Ferengi race and killing all the regular characters one by one. And you mentioned earlier about how nice Jeff seemed as Brunt. Well, for one thing, that's closer to the Jeff that I know than the Brunt character. So they were just writing Jeff as they knew him. And two, if he had been the regular Brunt and Kira had killed him off, it wouldn't have been as much of a loss.
Yeah.
But here he is, a really nice guy, an affectionate guy, a person who's trying to help other people out. So killing that Brunt actually is much more tragic than perhaps killing the usual Brunt character.
Yeah. Early on in this episode, I love the moment when Ezri comes walking in. First you make the whole prayer to the Ferengi gods, like, "Hey, help me out with Ezri."
Oh gosh, yes. And then he says
that whole asking for help with Ezri, praying that they'll hook you up with her, was hilarious. And then here she is, pops up at the door. And I love the line that you give. It's like, does it have to be so rough the first time? The way you said it, the way you delivered it, I love that moment there.
See, I thought you were going to say when she walks in and she says, "Where's the bedroom?" And he goes, "I owe you one."
Yeah, that was yes, that whole scene I loved. Armin, it was so fantastic, and I love when you are doing this whole kind of trying to get what you want, and you kind of get the itchy palms and excited about it. But the thing I was going to ask you about was carrying the cloaking device, and we all know how wrong that could possibly go when you're basically imagining carrying something. And I just wanted a little input about carrying an invisible thing and working that out is in the director's session.
The truth is, I remember very little of the shooting of this episode, so I don't remember what was in my mind carrying invisible cloaking device. But I agree with you, Cirroc. There's nothing more making us remember that we're watching make believe than to do something where you force the audience to picture something that isn't there.
Yes,
that's very, very difficult. In no matter how you do it. And I was actually, when I watched the episode, I was quite pleased with what Max and I did there.
Yeah.
That we made it look like we actually were carrying something.
Yes. Which is a very vulnerable thing, because as an actor, you don't know how it's going to turn.
You're guessing. You're looking at the director saying, this looks okay, right? Is this what you want? Are you sure?
But I was looking at it.
It looked perfect.
Yeah.
And I was very happy with the way special effects made me and the get burnt on the electrode. I thought, oh my God, they did that perfectly. So thank you.
Well, so did you. I actually went back and watched it 3 times to check on that, because our initial thought would be like to move to the thing quickly and then react or whatever it is. And I watched you. I was like, wow, you actually really nailed it. It wasn't just them, but you pictured it. You moved around, and then right when it hit, it reacted. So yeah, very well done. It stood 3 rewatches by me, that one moment.
Thank you.
Yes, and I want to also give credit to LeVar Burton, his director's choice in that particular hallway scene. I did enjoy the fact that Sisko kind of walks past you guys, and then they both have this moment of like, did we just see what we thought?
What the hell?
Who was Corky?
Well, Rom was looking like Spider-Man.
So that was a great beat that I think was well played on the.
And Avery has just a delicious moment where he just sort of shakes his head like, these Ferengi. And I really loved that when I watched it this time. I went, oh, good for you, Avery, because I have to deal with. When I was a young man, early in the theater, I was working with a director who was a teacher. I was in college, and I was doing something way over the top. And he turned to the director, who's also a teacher, said, "Do I have to work with this dog act?" That's what I saw in Avery's look. "Do I have to work with this dog act?"
Wow.
No, that was like those small moments were just they said so much, and the other thing I noticed is, with Rom and his delivery, he likes to sing his lines. He said, "I thought you two were dead." He says, "We are." He kind of sings it. And I like his own take on it, because that's he kind of leans more on the comedy and really goes all in. But yeah, do you remember anything about? You said not too much about the episode, but we did have a lot of cast in this episode, where you had so many cast members that we haven't seen in a while, kind of working together.
Yeah,
I felt last episode was right. The combinations of Worf and Garrick, you really barely see them together, right? Ezri and Kira, another kind of unusual kind of a combination. We don't really see them that much yet this season, so this was kind of the beginning of them. Their intimate kind of relationship was also exposed. So when you get these different combinations, Armin, does it change your approach, or is it's just the same? I'm coming in here and I'm going to deliver what I'm going to do.
I think I'm going to do what I'm going to do always. Certainly, the other actors' choices do make a difference. That's absolutely true. And the truth is, all these people you just mentioned are people I've worked with constantly, not often, but constantly for 7 years. I know who they are. I know who their characters are. And so they're not going to do anything that totally surprises me, but I am going to look forward to what each of those actors chooses to do. I know that Max is going to. You used the expressions. I'm going to quote it. He sings his lines.
Yeah.
I know Max is going to do that. And if it was an absolutely new person, I probably would have rolled my eyes and
or been like, "What the heck?
what do I have to work with this dog act?"
Oh my God.
But I knew Max, and he was brilliant, quite, to say the truth about doing that. And so it's just part of our relationship. That's what he does. That's who he is. I expect it to come from him that way. And every now and then, when Max would throw me a loop by being enormously serious or really heartfelt, those sometimes threw me, because I didn't always expect those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as the others, it's early on in Nicole's career on Deep Space Nine. So her working with Nana must have been interesting for both of them, because for the very thing I just said, they were not used to each other. And they have to have an intimacy in this episode that must have been slightly surprising to Nicole. And Nana had to, work with a new actor in this regard. So that must have been an interesting time for the both of them.
That's a good point. They'd have to get over it super quick. You gotta get through it.
Lucky for me, I've played very few love scenes in my career, but I can't imagine what a leading man or leading woman, walks onto a set and has to do a love scene or an affectionate scene with a stranger, and they have to make us believe that they've been in love for a year or so, or all their lives. That's a hard thing to do, and God bless them for all of them doing it as well as they do.
I thought not
like that, and go, how do you play those? I mean, what do you do to get that chemistry going in a matter of an hour? How do you do that?
Not only that, but you're talking about Nana as the intendant, which is like her, it's her version turned all the way up. So that has to be intimidating also for Nicole to see, like, this woman who's like just going to eat her up alive, basically, with her words and character.
I also wanted to say something. I did promise at the end of the first segment something about a link to the previous Mirror Universe. And this is LeVar Burton's final episode that he directs on Deep Space Nine. And his penultimate episode was the previous Mirror Universe episode. So I wonder if that was a thing. I wonder if they said, well, let's just keep the director that has the best idea of the continuity of the Mirror Universe. Let's have him do it. Or if maybe LeVar was like, I want the Mirror Universe one. That's one. Or if maybe it was just by chance. But this was a little news item sent to us by our associate producer, Dr. Marie Segal, who pointed that out. I did not know that, but this is LeVar's last episode.
Yeah, knowing how things worked on the Star Trek franchise, it could have been, but I doubt that LeVar said, I want to direct the next Mirror Universe. I don't think that was his ability to choose. Yeah. I don't think it was his call, right? They may have indeed done what you just suggested, Ryan. Here's a director who's done this Mirror Universe before, and we're going to get somebody who's experienced to that. So that's very likely. But it's an interesting factoid that I wasn't aware of. Should have been, but I wasn't.
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes, Armin, excellent comedic / dramatic timing. There's the proof right there.
He's got receipts.
Thank you.
It's official. But, the lines. The lines you gave, just amazing. One of them, you said, have you seen our mom? When you talked about Zek being
Moogie,
at Ryza. Yeah, Moogie. Yeah. So you said, have you seen our mom? And the other one was, and I thought this could be on a T-shirt. It was, do we look smart to you?
Oh, brilliant. I loved it. That should be on a shirt. You're right.
That's on a T-shirt. You can put anybody's face on there. But the way you delivered that line was so perfect. I laughed out loud. I was like, that's too much.
Well, one of the things I learned over the course of 7 years was to go. It works perfectly for Max, and I'm a big fan of his. But I learned that not to sing the punchline. I learned it's funnier for me in my performance to undercut the punchline, undercut it. And as I watched this episode, I went, that's very much on display. I can see I'm undercutting the lines and not going big, but rather undercutting, because whether it's true or not, I felt that made him funnier to just sort of out of the side of your mouth say so.
Right. It makes it more bitingly true if you're not playing it to be funny, or you're not playing it for the other person's reaction. You're almost kind of saying it to yourself, like, do we really look smart to you? And you did that a few times in this, and you're right. It works beautifully with your character, because your character's not trying to be funny. You are not, playing this big thing. It makes it more biting. It makes it more real. Like this, there's a little bit of a tragedy to that, you know what I mean? Rather than comedy.
Well, as I've always said, I always saw Quark as a tragic character who had comic lines. And he's living in a situation that is not conducive to him or his way of thought. And he's doing the best he can to keep his head above water. So I always saw him as a tragic character who just happened to have comic lines.
He seems constantly tortured in this world of insanity, and he's just like, am I the only sane person in this crazy world right now?
Right. Trying to follow the code of ethics that he grew up on, and doing his best to compromise with a group of people who don't think anything like him, and still trying to achieve whatever ambitions he had as a young man. One day, I hope Quark will get his move.
There was a line that I thought Ezri delivered that was really cold-blooded and kind of cut right at you. She says, you're a bartender, Quark. What are you going to do? Make him a drink?
Great line reading and great line written. It's a wonderful, wonderful line. And she did it perfectly. And I can see the hurt in my face as I watch the moment. She's right. And, What can I say to that?
It was a great delivery. I thought very competent of her, coming in and being able to cut that hard with her delivery was really great.
And let's give her credit. We always would, but let's give her credit. This is what this is the beginning of her work. She's working with people who've been there for 6 years, and she's running as fast as the rest of us are and doing a hell of a job.
Right, it's got to be really tough when you're basically just starting out with these veterans, and she has to play already a different character, and she's probably still just getting used to her first character, and they're like, okay, time to play it completely differently all of a sudden. Can't be
exactly. And if I may, this is one of the things that I admire about guest stars, not only on our show but other shows.
Yeah.
They have to come in and play characters as full fleshed out as those of us who've been around for a long time. And they have to do it competently, and they have to do it believably. And the others, those of us who've been around time, we know where we are. We know what the pathway is. Guest stars don't have that. They have to come in and do all that hard work immediately. And God bless the people who are guest stars, because it's hard. It's hard work.
Armin, when I watch the show, and I keep seeing Quark doing some of the most heroic things throughout the season. He does a lot of things that are where you would, he questions, like he does what's right in most of the occasions, even when it's not in his best interest. He'll do something that's right. And my question to you is, how do you think Quark would have changed if he found the love interest that he was looking for? Because that's one of the things that has been one of the driving forces of your character. Yeah. Kind of search of Mrs. Quark. What do you think? How do you think that would change? Because I find your character to be like really romantic, actually, and kind of in need or in want of some companionship.
I totally agree with you, and I had always hoped for something more between Quark and Jadzia. That was never to be, but that's what I sort of wanted. And so when Jadzia left the show and Ezra showed up, I was thinking, well, it's possible something could happen. It was never going to happen, but it was in the back of my mind. I must say, I think I'm right when I'm saying this. I believe that in the second season, the writers put out a dictum to anybody who was writing episodes or spec scripts for our show, that they didn't want any episodes about Quark falling in love. They didn't want any of those. So yes, he's always looking for some romantic attachment. And it's a very good question, Ryan. I imagine it would have softened him somewhat if they had put him in a domestic relationship. And part of me wanted that when I was shooting it, but that part of me that is long past the shooting of our show is very happy that never happened.
Did you ever play it like that, like in the back of your mind? Because we know that Ethan Phillips on Star Trek Voyager, he said his secret was, long after the show was over, that he was secretly in love with Captain Janeway. Wasn't written in there, but that was the key to his performance on how he portrayed that character. Did you ever kind of just plant that seed in the back of your mind, where just like an actor's tool of, I'm going to have a little extra thing for Jadzia, a little thing in there?
Yes, I absolutely did that, and was for Jadzia, not so much for Ezra, not at all really, but for Jadzia, because and Cirroc will, if you can remember, Jadzia was the life of the party on the set. Yeah, forget Jadzia. Terry was the life of the party on the set. And so to be around Terry, it was a good day when Terry was around. And so I think everybody was attracted to Terry in one way or another. And I was hoping that she, having Dax having all these different life experiences, could see past the physical abnormalities of the Ferengi, look into the heart of those characters, and actually feel for them. And I think she did. I think the character did, but not to the extent that I hope for. As Johnny did with Captain Janeway. But certainly, if I was in love with anybody on the show, it was Odo. There it is.
Yes, that's very clear. But now that you say that, when I kind of play back the scenes that you have with Dax at your bar when she's playing Dom Jod and playing the games with you, or Tonga or whatever it was, but there would be moments that I could see you guys fitting together. She knew the game. She had the kind of excitement about gambling. It wasn't like, oh, gambling, I don't want to be around it. She was kind of like the cool chick that was, into some of the same things that you were into.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you saw that, because it certainly was there. And it was only, as far as actors' choices, it was only for Jadzia, for all the reasons I gave before.
Yeah.
The relationships with everybody, with you, Cirroc.
Oh, yeah.
With everybody got formed and cemented themselves over the course of time. As we look back on the episodes that we had been in, we took those experiences and we added them to the episodes that we were filming at the time. It didn't come, full blown on the very first episode. It took time to matriculate, to grow, and to become part and parcel of who we were.
Yeah, I grew up. Also, I used to watch a lot of Cheers, and watching Ted Danson on Cheers was one of my favorite little other shows to watch. And I kind of, in my mind, I think of Quark as the Sam Malone of DS9. And it makes me also think, if he did have a significant other, and if she was at the bar with you, the kind of chemistry that you guys would have, whether she'd be like Carla or the other characters on Cheers. But I always wondered what that dynamic would be like, the power struggle or whatnot, or if it would tame you, or if it would just make you even more, rebellious against whatever the situation was. So
I definitely an opportunity early on with a number of characters, and then they brought it one more time. And forgive me, I've forgotten both the actress and the characters. And Mary, she was the Klingon that I got married to.
Right.
Yes.
That played Grilka.
Grilka.
Mm-hmm.
That was a romantic relationship, and it was very easy to do with Mary. Mary's the right word, right name.
Actually, now that's come to think of it, Quark, you got more action than Dr. Bashir on this show.
Who didn't?
No. Really, as I said, the writers had to stop writers from writing that sort of plot. And I'm glad. I didn't like it at the time, because as a character actor, I've never had the opportunity to do that. I've never had the opportunity, either on stage or from the camera, to have romantic scenes. So it's a great emptiness in my experience. So I sort of wanted that as an opportunity to explore that. But in hindsight, years after the show was over, I'm enormously grateful that it went any further than it did, because there's a wonderfulness to Quark being a loner, even being surrounded by his
It's the
family.
beautiful, tragic character for sure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we love it. And it also makes us honestly root for him more. The more struggles that he goes through, the more loneliness he goes through, just makes the fans root for him more and more and more. And then every tiny little touch of friendship he gets from Odo, or any glimmer he gets from Jadzia, makes our hearts soar for Quark. You know what I mean? Like, he just gets these tiny little things, like the scene where after Odo and Quark climb a mountain together, and then afterwards Quark says to Odo, or vice versa, I don't remember which one, says, "I still hate you." The other one says, "I hate you
I think
too."
Odo says it to Quark. Homer.
And
then
it's
we laugh.
like, that's the moment right there, because we all know he's saying he loves him.
Yeah, I remember that, and I'm very fond of the laugh. That's why I mentioned it, because that was Renee and my idea, and it happened while the camera was on.
Beautiful.
It just happened, and I think that says it all, because we could verbally say we hate each other, but inside we knew differently, or at least I thought that way.
It was perfect, and you delivered it that way too. We all read that exactly.
Yes.
We do have to run everybody at home. Before we go, we do want to give a very special thanks to Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal.
Yes, here's the Homer. I like Homer. Homer, God bless you.
You know, he lives in Walter Koenig's former apartment complex in New York.
New York.
Yeah. It's part of his contract that we're actually obligated to say that every week. So.
We have to say that.
I know you've got other people to thank, but I want to actually say something about that.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Homer's, but about Walter Koenig. When I was a young man living in New York, I was going up 8th Avenue, and this guy came up to me and said, do you know where such and such is? And I immediately recognized him, and I was thrilled to tell him, well, it's so-and-so, it's this. And that was Walter. And that was the first time I met Walter was Avenue, and we just, who knew that years later we would both be involved in the same franchise.
And you'd be seeing each other constantly at conventions.
Constantly, although Walter, up until recently, lived in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So I did see him at the post office quite a bit, actually.
All right.
Wow.
So
Walter's an awesome guy. Love that man. He's just a kind-hearted person. Sweet man.
So ARMIN SHIMERMAN in Walter Koenig's former neighborhood, Homer Frizzell out in New York, Dr. Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, of course, Yvette Blackmon, Carmen, a.k.a. Skillet, Timothy Baum, a.k.a. Grandpa One, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Darlena Marie, Titus Mohler, John Mann, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Tierney C. Dieckmann, Anna Post, Rex A. Wood, Anil O. Palat, Erica Strom, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, DQ, Neil Akasaka, Justine Norton Kurtzen, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, and of course, Dr. Susan V. Gruner. ARMIN, this has been
before we end, I want
such a thrill.
Suck up the last moments. The other day, I got to see Far Beyond the Stars for the first time in a very long time. And Cirroc, there were wonderful performances in that episode, and it is my favorite episode. But no one held a candle to your performance. Your performance in that show, I looked at them and went, who is that? That is not the Cirroc Lofton.
Yes.
That is an incredible, absolutely wonderful job that you did. You're still, I don't know if you're a teenager or 20 at this point, but whatever you were, that was an award-winning performance that you gave. There were wonderful performances, lots of wonderful performances in that episode.
Thank you.
In my mind, yours was the finest.
That means a lot, ARMIN. Thank you so much. There were too many good performances in that episode. Namely, Avery's climax scene was like probably amazing as far as I can remember. But thank you, ARMIN. You're fantastic. We didn't get a chance to talk about James Darren in this episode. It was great to see him as well. Just kind of, being an alternate Vic Fontaine. But thank you, ARMIN, for the compliments and just thank you for just being so supportive of the Seventh Rule and everything we've done here. You've been amazing throughout this time, and actually, really the ambassador of the show. When we were filming the show, you were always the go-to guy, bridging us all together and kind of the mayor of stage 4, 17, and 18. So I appreciate everything you've done, ARMIN.
Thank you, Cirroc. Thank you very much.
And also, we truly hope this is not the last time you come on our show, because we absolutely love having you. But I want to let everybody know that ARMIN, being the gracious person that he is, has been with this show since episode 4, Deep Space Nine, episode 4, Armin was on our show saying yes before anybody else was, and we really appreciate you taking the time consistently for almost 4 years for our little show. We really appreciate you, Armin.
Well, I love talking about it. You're great people. We owe it to Aaron, Malissa. And it's great fun. It's why I like to go to conventions, is because I see my friends. Well, here I get to see both of you, and that's great. A great joy for me. I wish I saw you more, actually. And I will see you on Sunday.
Nice. Well, thanks so much, Armin. Everybody at home, make sure you send out your tweets and say, Armin, we loved you on the Seventh Rules. Thanks so much for making our days better for several years and including today. Everybody at home, stick around for the free-for-all, and we will be right back on the Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Seventh Rule. This is the free-for-all with Cirroc, Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Everybody listening in, he's got a Cheech and Chong shirt that says Buds.
Yeah.
Isn't that the cutest double entendre? Love it.
Oh, that's funny.
Would you say that shirt is purple or lilac? Is that a Jake Sisko purple?
Well,
Pretty close.
Lilac.
Lavender. It's lavender.
It's lavender, Dick, and you know it.
which are all variations of purple. So
All right. So I feel like that was in a movie. Someone was saying, like, you got a pink shirt. He's like, it's salmon, you jerk.
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't a movie.
Yeah, is that what it must have been? All right, we are joined, of course, by Anil O. Palat here. We've got Stephanie Baker in Seattle, Dr. Susan V. Gruner floating around Deep Space Nine, and Bejor. Malissa Longo is here wearing a Ferengi shirt that she made her damn self. Grandpa One's hanging out on Mars. Nice. Mars. We have, this is my Mirror Spock shirt, Carrie Schwent. We have TJ Jackson-Bey ready for Las Vegas, Nevada by wearing his Star Trek cruise shirt.
Captain Nog.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What? Let me see.
Oh,
Let's spotlight that for a second.
I highlight that. Oh,
Aw.
so
that is so cute.
Yeah.
It's got a
nice.
Captain Nog pin. That's freaking amazing.
So
And also, let's see, who else is here? Homer Freezy out somewhere in New Yeezy. We have Eve England out in Wales. We have Dr. Anne-Marie Segal with her headphones. And Faith Howell with a cool background from this episode. Did we get everybody? You kind of moved around on me. Sorry.
And you mentioned that your t-shirt is now on sale on the Patreon store?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, everybody go check
Just
this
making
out.
sure.
What do you
It's
think of this?
amazing.
It's got a
I like
self-sealing stem bolt.
I love that one so much.
It's
And
got
you
a
can get it in a
self-
tote as well.
Yeah, if they don't seal themselves, I don't want them.
Exactly. You know, that's going to be the icebreaker in
Third,
Vegas.
first
People
world
are like, how do
problems.
you know
They
if
better
it's
be
self-sealing?
self-sealing.
Yeah.
And then if you see the back, I don't know if you can see the back, but there's a stem bolt in the back, by the way.
Hawk boy.
It helps, keep you alive. Let's talk about this episode, everybody. Save us, TJ. How much did you love this episode? Were you excited about the Mirror Universe? Were you happy to see Esri from the Mirror Universe? What's the deal here?
Well, yeah, I like the Mirror Universe. It's always interesting to kind of get a different take on the characters that we love. And this one was just, so much fun because we got our awesome Ferengi, over there. And so they're not, as one directional, like focused as the Starfleet officers there. They have like just kind of a different character. I think that makes it a different fun take. I enjoyed Rom, trying to figure out, everything like, wait, this is the alternate. So, they're supposed to be, this instead of that and all that. And especially, like when he was working on the cloaking device and and Garrick's getting onto him, and he just like literally stands up to this, crazier Garrick, and like, or what? You're not gonna let me finish fixing the cloaking device? And Garrick's like, okay, go ahead. My bad. So yeah, great fun episode. Always fun when we get our Ferengis going. So that's why I wore Captain Nog today, even though he wasn't there.
He's always here in spirit, though.
Yes, he is.
Did you think this episode was more fun for like the jokes and the comedic deliveries, or do you think it was more interesting to see like new characters in the Mirror Universe?
Yeah, it was all of the above. It was neat to see Ezri, and they even gave us an explanation for the mirror side of why Jadzia wasn't there.
Yeah.
And it was also, these guys, like we've seen the Starfleet and we've seen, Kira and all of them interact with the Mirror Universe, but these are new eyes on the Mirror Universe. And so they kind of have a different take on what's going on. Like, Ron was like, hey, this Chief O'Brien's nice too.
Yeah.
The smiley guy. So, it was pretty fun. It was also an interesting, advance to the storyline on that side that I don't think we actually get a follow-up to, because now they kind of have the advantage. They've captured the Regent. They have the cloaking device because they took the ship. So wow, that's a huge swing in their storyline. And I really would love to see or hear or imagine where that goes for them. So Discovery folks in the 32nd century, let's see what happened on the other side.
Speaking of the other side, Anil O. Palat is on the other side of Deep Space Nine right now from Susan B. Gruner. What's up, Anil? Where are you calling in from today? You're always all over the place.
I am on the East Coast, but I'm getting ready for Las Vegas. So
nice. What do you think of this episode? Are you a Mirror Universe fan, or when it's a Mirror Universe, do you like roll your eyes and go like, "Oh, great"?
No, I like it. I like it because the rules don't really matter. Like Vic Fontaine shows up, they don't bother to explain it. Tom is confused. Like, it's just like whatever, So it's fun. I mean, it's a kind of an episode where you don't nitpick anything, and Rom is kind of like voicing what we're all thinking. It's like, wait, if you're supposed to be the opposite, and then he goes into that thing. It is just super fun. It's really cool to have a series within a series, so you get invested in it, and now we know what happens. And I really like it. You could tell they had fun writing it, and I feel like the Ferengi especially are so funny that it just like it. You could have them say whatever, and it would just really work. And it works in this episode, I think.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a favorite line? Did something crack you up the most?
Yeah, it made me laugh out loud when Ezri is taking Rom because they need an engineer, and she's like, "What are you going to do, Quark? Mix him a drink." And then Rom goes, "That's okay, brother. I'm not thirsty."
Yeah.
So
I definitely thought of Cirroc when he said that line. I thought we were going to get a Rom impression from Cirroc on that line too, by the way.
Yeah, that was a classic line. I wrote it down too. Mm-hmm. I thought it was great.
Cool.
But actually, Ezri was kind of cold-blooded when she delivered that line to Quark. It was kind of a big, like it was a cutthroat delivery. She really chopped him down, and then gave him like the cold like look at the end, the stare as she put the shields back up. So kudos to Nicole for just being so sure of herself to be able to hold her own.
She rocked it in this episode. Yeah, she carried it.
And Quark didn't even have a comeback. I think he was just silent after that. I was really surprised.
He just did like, okay, you got me. Yep.
You got
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. We've got Stephanie Baker out in Seattle wearing a cool Abyssinian kiosk shirt. How are you, and how much do you love this episode? And evil Ezri.
I am well, and I am a big fan of any Mirror Universe episode on any series. I like how Deep Space Nine did so many more. I feel like they did more. I'm not sure, but it seems like they did more than any other series did. And what I really also liked about this episode, before they entered the Mirror Universe, when Quark was in his room and he was praying to his gold statue, the Exchequer, and I thought that was a cool like cultural thing about Ferengis, and I was wondering, is that what Quark does every night? Is that his like nightly prayer that he does to his god? It just kind of, because he was in his pajamas and it seemed like that was his ritual.
I was also thinking when I saw that, where does that money go?
I know.
Right, Faith?
I know.
It in that, and then
It's like a piggy bank.
It's exactly a piggy
I
bank,
wondered
but then
the same
who
thing.
gets it eventually, right?
Yeah, is it like saving because saving the money makes you pious in the Ferengi ideology? Sorry. Or is it actually going to some organization somewhere? I had that question too.
Yes, I was wondering that as well.
It didn't have to go in the ear hole, though.
I know.
We'll have to ask Ira or Robert Stephen Bear about that. When they're given that money, who's it? Because they're not going to waste money. It's not just going to sit there and then they just bury it with the person. Well, maybe they bury it with the person.
Or Grand Nakus comes and collects at the end with his little parking meter key.
Or just saving is a virtue, so it's all saved in there, and it's part of their when they go to the afterlife. I forget what they call it.
Treasury.
Yeah, when they go to the divine treasury, that counts as part of their
part of the
balance.
bribe to get in.
What they bring with them, maybe. That's a good explanation.
Love it.
Yeah, that's good.
See, Faith
Homer's
gets
got
it.
a good theory too.
It's because she has the faith.
What do you got for us, Homer?
Faith thinks too much about stuff.
Oh, nice.
Well, I like the idea of someone from the FCA or something like that coming around and collecting rather than something so automated where I had written it's a transporter that's set up and it sends it. I like the idea of this antiquated method of collection.
Okay.
Yeah, with the key.
Yeah.
What do you think,
key,
Stephanie? Do you have any other theories on this or anything else you'd like to say about the episode itself?
Well, since it was gold, the statue, it does kind of make me think of like mummies, Tutankhamun in Egypt, and the idea that they bring it with them to their death. I like Faith said that. I think that also is a good idea. That's what they do carry with them to the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
So like a deposit, like he's depositing money for himself later.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
How cool!
And then the
is
other
it?
thing I just want to say, I just really, really liked at the end Mirror Esri and Mirror Lita, and their that to me was like just a nice, like it was really clear that they were into each other and they were girls, and I thought that was fantastic.
What made me think of when Brunt said to when he said to Quark, "I don't think she's your type." he was trying to give him a clue, like she's not going to be into you, man.
How cool is it too, by the way, that Faith here is the only person possibly that has ever been on the Seventh Rule whose name is in a title of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. You know,
cool.
that's karma, because my name is never anywhere else. I never get to go get the keychain at the museum.
Oh no.
So this is my payback.
Girl,
you've definitely put in a lot of strips of latinum in your piggy bank for that one. TJ Jackson-Bey says Faith of the Heart, of course.
Well, there was also Take Me Out to the Homer Suite. No?
I was trying to find one for Eve because I'm like, I feel like there's an Eve in a word on the like, you know what I mean? Like if there's like a title that says like every day or everyone or evening or something, well, there's got to be something in there. Faith is like, don't take this from me. Well, Susan V. Gruner, how are you today? What do you think? If you've seen this episode recently, how do you feel about it?
I always enjoy this episode, but for a totally different reason than everybody else, I think. It shows the evolution of the Ferengi. In all iterations of the shows back in the day, I'm not calling it old school, I'm just saying back in the day, they were, thieves and misogynists and just, not the greatest group of people. But in Deep Space Nine, literally in the opening scene of the first episode, Nog is stealing something with somebody else. But now we see that they really are good people. They really have a heart. They're smart. Nog is really smart. Rom is really smart. Quark is really smart. It's just, to me, amazing how they've gone from one extreme to the other over the whole seasons, every season of Deep Space Nine. I am not a fan, of mirror episodes, but I don't hate them. They're not my favorite, but this one I like because of that whole thing with the Ferengi. I think it's great.
When you said thieves, I did think, well, we have the honor among thieves for Eve, but it's spelled differently. And we also have what you leave behind. So we're close on something there. Why don't you, but they're not the perfect spelling. Why don't you like Mirror Universe stuff usually?
I don't really know. I just don't. I just don't. I don't hate them. I just prefer their normal. Didn't Neil deGrasse Tyson just talk about this, saying he preferred the reality? I prefer the reality.
Confusing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So I just think it leaves me too confused. I actually watch it the way Rom was thinking about it. If they're supposed to be the mirror,
yes.
So I'm watching it and I'm thinking the whole time like that. So what station are they? What year is it? Which universe is it? Are there multiple alternate universes? So is this the same storyline as the other alternate universe from before, or is this an alternate? I just get confused.
Yeah, but you like Kira in that outfit, and I don't. Like
I love Kira.
I know. I want to take that thing and throw it across the room. What was it made of? It looks like somebody took a bunch of tinfoil and
it's her Game of Thrones look. She's on her Game of Thrones way before its time.
Okay, I didn't watch Game of Thrones.
Oh,
am I the only one? Yes, true.
Dare you?
I actually, there was a line about her that I thought Zek summed it up perfectly at the end when he said, "There's something about that woman I find intoxicating."
Yes.
That sums it up for me about her. I was like, something so intoxicating about her. Gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Does he ever go to conventions?
He did
he
once.
I think he's passed away, right?
Oh no!
Is he still around?
He's still around.
He's still around. He just doesn't.
Yep.
He's busy.
Yeah, she still pops up on Young Sheldon.
Really?
Yeah, he's one of Young Sheldon's professors.
Okay.
He's fantastic on it.
He's always, to me, would be Zek. I can't.
Not inconceivable.
Wow. Yeah, no, I was going to say, and the Princess Bride.
Inconceivable.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, he dated Sheldon's grandmother.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. Good knowledge.
Yeah, Princess Bride is the same kind of character. Maybe it's just his voice is so awesome.
Yeah.
perfect for the Grand Nagus.
And his delivery. Yeah. Okay, cool.
And don't forget, we get Moogie as a Nam.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Of course, you guys. We got a whole bunch of NAMs today. Non-appearance mentions. Sue, can you name one?
Moogie. Moogie.
What else did we get today? Did you guys hear any others?
Captain Sisko.
Oh.
No, Sisko was in it.
Admiral Ross and Gowron.
Yep, Admiral Ross and Chancellor Gowron.
Oh yeah, he was.
That Bareil was also talked about.
Yeah,
that's right.
Chief O'Brien.
Well,
I wasn't sure whether we were allowed the sort of Chief O'Brien and Garrick from.
Yeah, but did you say Ducat? Did someone say Ducat? I didn't hear Ducat.
Yeah, they mentioned Ducat. Yeah.
Ooh, good one. I did not catch that.
I think it's when Ron was asking whether Ducat was head of the Federation. To which,
right?
Yeah, and then
Oh, and also Jadzia.
Jadzia.
And Jadzia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Good catches. What about you, Malissa Longo? Your thoughts on this episode if you've seen it recently?
I did see it recently. And I was going to say what Sue said, and so I'll just echo her in a way. But I really love the way they flesh out the Ferengi culture and what makes them tick. It's really ingrained in this show, and it's great. They're not one-dimensional whatsoever, and it's wonderful. And I love the differences of Rom and Quark and how they approach problems. And I have to say, Rom was my favorite in this episode. Everything he said, from it's such a soothing shade of gray. So, she's so nice. And
that's so Rom.
Yeah, and the way he says, right. I can't get down that low, but right. When he's trying to figure something out, and he's just really funny. And then at the end, when he says, I'm really beginning to hate this universe. When Lita is not nice to him at all. But it's a good, I like the episode. It's a fun episode. It's fun to see Worf throw tantrums in the way we don't usually see him throw tantrums. He's usually much more reserved. Mm-hmm. And the scene where the intendant is playing with Zek's ears.
Tugging on his ear hair.
Yeah.
Ryan, you look jealous.
Well, I like tugging on people's ear hair. Oh, you mean of him?
But yeah, it's a fun episode. And I do like the mirror universe episodes.
What did Lita say to Rom? Right. She said, she was like, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rom to me, he killed this episode too. He stood out. He kept singing all of his lines. I was saying that earlier, but he was just Mr. Regent.
I wrote that. I wrote it out like that too.
Yeah.
Mr. Regent.
And the way he said, I'm never helping you guys again. So funny.
Stuff.
And then Quark in this moment was really good too. I liked this prayer moment. It was good.
Oh, Garrick said, I know all about sabotage. And then Rob's like, that's not what we hear. Like he sings everything.
And the way they ganged up on Garrick.
It was great.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did kind of think though when they were kind of playing Garrick for a fool, I was like, "What? Garrick isn't a fool." And that's right.
But it's
Mirror
the
universe.
alternate.
Yeah.
It's alternate.
Yeah, he could have grown up and not been the sly assassin and just been a dummy that's easily fooled.
But I will leave it off with these episodes this episode again raised the question for me is, do the symbionts exist in this alternate universe? And
yeah, we don't know.
Is it called Dax?
I actually made that mistake of saying Ezri Dax at the beginning of this recording, and I thought about it. I was like, well, wait, we don't know if it's Ezri Dax. We just know it's Ezri.
Well,
Right?
she even said, "Who's Dax?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
she's
TJ
obviously not
Ezri Tegan.
Dax. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of symbionts, Grandpa One is here. He's taking care of his symbiont. Grandpa One Dax, sorry, I should say. How you doing?
Oh, better. Every day getting over COVID. So.
Oh, right. Better than.
I have to agree with Sue. I don't really like the Mirror Universe episodes. I liked the first one that Deep Space Nine did because I thought that was kind of cool because they talked about, oh yeah, Kirk went through this, but is this the third or the fourth episode that we've had in Deep Space Nine? From
I feel like at least the fourth, right?
There's five.
There's
five.
So yeah, that's okay. But other
he tries
than that,
to block them out.
Yeah. it was a fun episode. It was definitely a Rom virtuoso. It just he carried the whole episode. One of the things I did notice and enjoyed in the very first scene is how Odo trolled Quark as far as Ezri and Bashir. It's like, oh, they left holding hands.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you know that. I think I really did enjoy Ron just because of his whole stress about well, wait a minute, if it's this, then the whole paradox thing, it's just driving him crazy. And everybody else is trying to solve the problem. He's like, well, wait a minute, shouldn't like, who cares? So, yeah, but yeah, to me, it's a good standalone episode, but it really wasn't one of my favorites. I think when I first started watching, I thought, oh, not another Mirror Universe one. So, but I did watch it again this morning and enjoyed it more than I did the first time I saw it through. So,
who is your favorite Mirror Universe character ever?
I would have to say Vic Fontaine in this one. I thought that was
Dark Horse. Wow.
It's like, you're a hologram. What? No, and I don't think I remember catching it the first time I saw it through, but no, I kind of like, oh wow. And I also like Garrick in the am I a tailor or an assassin? Which one am I? Yes.
Both.
Both. So anyway.
Mm-hmm. All right. Vic Fontaine.
Oh, there was a NAM for Vulcan Love Slave Volume 3.
That's my favorite.
That's Cirroc's punk band.
So funny.
Oh, you got that, Anne-Marie?
All right. Carrie Schwent, how are you today? Have you seen this episode recently? If so, how much do you love all Mirror Universe episodes?
Love every single one of them. I even stole my husband's mirror. It's just my Mirror Universe costume, and that Eric wore on the cruise for Mirror Night, because he doesn't really enjoy the whole dressing up. And I found this T-shirt online, and it's like, yep, bingo, that's what he's gonna wear. I had to steal it from his closet for this episode, but love every single Mirror episode. Kira is hands down my favorite Mirror person. She just looks like she's having so much fun playing the Intendant, just channeling her all her movements are very cat-like. She doesn't really walk, she just sort of glides, and she doesn't walk in a straight line usually. And just very, very cool. Love seeing Ezri rocking her inner goth with the all black look and the eye makeup, and just very more confident than regular Ezri is, just in a different way. And not unlike what I've mentioned before about Kira's chemistry with Dukat, the Intendant's chemistry with Ezri, with the smooch, off the charts. Just even more chemistry I thought those two had. And especially at the end, they're like pointing guns at each other, like, oh, okay, fine, I'm not actually gonna shoot you. Okay, you go away. You can go. Yeah, you got the old Mr. Regent.
Yeah,
I always rewind that. Max Rudenchik, just adorable human being alive, and seeing Worf with his hair all free and trying out his new spike gloves. Hey, come over here, your Regent needs you. Bam, I'm gonna try out my new gloves. Yeah, these'll do.
Do you think it would have been cool, Carrie, to see Worf in his first season Next Generation Bob, though? Or like his little, not even before the Bob, where he just kind of like had a little bit of, like
the wrap up,
right up there with hair that I don't like, and which actually relates to my next, which is almost a nitpick kind of. Julian's hair, that wig. So much, but every time I look at that, I'm like, I just want to rip that off his head, just tousle his regular hair a little bit, and just go with that. But every time I see that wig, it just I look everywhere else.
I'm so with you on that, Kara. I was watching that saying, what do they have, bad hair in this universe? What is this?
This is the drummer for Poison.
And then this one with the bad wig, he's got the tiny little ponytail or whatever at the back that almost makes it worse.
Yeah.
It almost makes it worse.
Yeah, I wrote down the Jackson 5, one of their background dancers.
And I had way too much fun with my haikus for the week. I ended up making 2 of them, but I'll read the one that Eric liked better. New Ezri wears black. Brunt makes 2 grubs for Rom. Regent surrenders.
He did. He also had clear sinuses.
Yeah. He was like, this stuff's amazing. Let's see. I think that was pretty much everybody covered, just everything else. Yeah, the mirror ones are just way too much fun, and seeing the grumpier side of Chase before she starts flirting with Ezri.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was cool. Nice little scene for her.
Too. Yeah, and poor Rom. I want to go home. That's not my I want to go home.
Yeah,
we're married.
I don't think so.
Yeah, him standing up to Garrick was just way too much fun. I thought I didn't write it down, but I thought to myself, his lobes grew 3 sizes that day.
Oh my God.
He got extra confident.
Oh my God.
What's wrong, Sue?
Oh, I think I broke Sue. What popped into my head? My head is a very strange and twisted place. Probably why I like the mirror universe.
I think the Intendant is badass. But when she got pissed off at Quark and like grabbed his ear, and then went over to Tiny Ron and
why'd she
she's like
on him?
She's like, big boy. What did she call him? Big boy or something?
Yeah.
Did she say something? Calm down, big boy, or something like that. She
totally like bent his ear too, like you could see it.
Yeah. And was looking intimidating against this guy that's literally towering over her, but she
made
was like,
her do, yeah.
She just has that presence where it's like, even when Worf was there and she was, the regent, she was more menacing than Worf. She was the most menacing character essentially in the episode. So she is. They might as well make Section 31 with the Intendant. Because to me, that's kind of what Giorgio is trying to pull off in that character. That Giorgio character is kind of like Kira's version of the Intendant.
Yeah, good point.
Now I want somebody to write fan fiction with Emperor Giorgio and the Intendant. The two of them together would be fantastic.
Oh my god!
They got to be enemies. Yes. They got to
be enemies. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or
like a cheerleading rivalry.
You guys heard it here first. We just broke a story for the
What do you think, Eve England, out in Wales? Are you already writing down this idea so you could beat us to it?
Just finishing off some notes. I mean, I am a huge fan of the alternate universe generally. And loved all of the other previous iterations that we had, and so it was so good to be just back one last time before I suppose it all gets a bit serious and we're coming to the end of the season. So it was such a nice sort of uplifting, just comedic episode. Was just fantastic, and everyone's covered most of the things that I'd sort of thought about. It's just a fantastic Ferengi episode. One thing that I just loved about I think it was you were saying earlier, about how they really have built the worlds of the Ferengis. They're not this one-dimensional set of aliens, and what I just loved, and I had to rewind it actually because I thought I'd misheard it when Rom comes in to speak to Quark, and he says that Zach is on a business safari. It wasn't even a business trip; it was a business safari. And I was like, that is just brilliant. I just loved that, and I just thought that's just the level of detail they go into to make you. Feel that you're really part of and trying to get into their heads and how they actually think, because it's this excitement and it's, you can then see why Zach is in this crazy situation that he's in if that's what he refers to these things as. So I just thought that was absolutely fantastic. And I really noticed that there seemed to, but I don't know whether this is because I'm just much more sort of paying much more attention to everything now that we're sort of coming to the end of it. So I'm just noticing that there's much more detail everywhere. So today, there just seem to be lots of sort of containers and barrels around the corridors that aren't usually around. So it's just nice to see all of that and all of the little sort of details that they did. And even when they were going from the transporter pad from one universe to the other, they kind of just shifted the console from one side to the other. So it's something so subtle, but they didn't need to do that, but they did that to kind of give you that sense that you had moved somewhere different. The music was fantastic. Everything was just beautiful. And I particularly like that scene where the Alliance giant ship decloaked above the Defiant. I just thought that was just beautiful. And I just loved looking at all of that and all the colors and the colors on the on the Alliance ship then, that just seems slightly different to what we normally see on a Klingon ship. So it just seemed like everyone has had so much fun doing all of this. And it was just really sort of a pleasure to watch that overall, I think. And it was interesting, the companion Ira is quoted as saying that he really wanted to do this episode, with Rom as almost stepping into the audience's shoes. So we all recognize that the alternate universe is kind of this suspension of disbelief piece, and Rom is really there to be that voice and to characterize that. So that was a deliberate choice that they made, and I think it just really shows how much all of the writers and everybody just love the show, and how that they acknowledge that there are some silly aspects, but they can do the silly and the fun stuff, but then they can do the really serious stuff, which we'll obviously now come on to. So overall I just absolutely loved it. And I don't know if you covered this actually in before, so, and I had to look this up, but the commemoration to Jerome Bixby at the start. So I didn't recognize the name, but I sort of Googled it, and then it said that it was the guy who wrote the original Mirror episode in TOS, and he had passed away not long before this episode aired. So they thought it was a fitting tribute to him. So I thought that was really sort of a full circle of the Mirror universe, really, for us.
Do we know what the other 3 episodes he wrote for TOS were?
I don't know.
If anybody has that offhand. Okay. Well, we'll look into that.
But he also wrote for Twilight Zone.
Right.
Which every time I hear, I'm like, oh my God, Cirroc, his other favorite show.
Yeah. When we said he wrote for TOS, Cirroc like literally started nodding off. And then I said in Twilight Zone, and he was like, whoa.
But not Columbo.
Yeah. You know, Eve, you were talking about details and what that made me think of a scene in this episode, and I can't remember exactly where they were, but there was a ball that was illuminated in front of Quark at some kind of where he was sitting in like a captain's chair of some sort in this episode. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, in the Ferengi ship. That's how they steer their ships. These old rascally Ferengi.
Oh, with that round.
Yeah, that's their little thing.
Ball.
It's like their magic 8-ball kind of thing.
I didn't see it before, but it popped out in this moment. I was like, wow, that's like an extra little detail that they didn't use it. They didn't really. He didn't. Use it, but the fact that it was there in the foreground, I was like, well, that's pretty.
There just seem to be so many different sets and different things that I felt I hadn't seen before, not in that level of detail anyway. I think just seemed bright because you had there was a lot of darkness in the episode, but then there were lots of pops of color as you went through. And I thought it was a beautiful episode overall. Really, really good.
I also noticed Quark's outfits too. Like a couple of his outfits were like just. I was like, he's the best dressed guy on Star Trek.
Yeah.
Homer Freezy informs us that the 4 episodes by Bixby were Mirror Mirror, By Any Other Name, Day of the Dove, and Requiem for Methuselah, of course. So everybody had that on their bingo cards. Thank you, Homer. Speaking of bingo cards, the bingo champion of the Eastern United States in 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, and 2019, I believe it was, Faith Howell. That was too long of an intro for something that's not true at all. So sorry, but what do you think of this episode?
I'm also with Sue and some of the rest of you, and the Mirror Universe episodes are not my favorites. But I do appreciate that it gives the actors a chance to stretch and do some different things, and I do find some fun in watching that. But there are some real gems in this particular episode. I really like the scene at the beginning where they're stealing the cloak, and just watching how synchronized they had to be when there's not actually a cloak there, and how believable all of the whole thing was. And then Sisko and Martok both, turning the corner, and they're having their conversation, and they both stop at the exact same moment, like, hold up. And you can see everything that they must be thinking. Hold up, something's wrong. Let's go check on that. And they don't have to say anything. They just both turn around and investigate. Is one of my favorite things. Sorry, I've got some notes here because you guys all covered everything so far, and I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Definitely I wrote with my left hand because my son was jumping on me at the time. Rom is a hero. He definitely, and I wondered not just that his ears grew 3 sizes in this episode, but that is not the actual Rom, and that the Rom that we know as kind of the screw up is a mask that he wears to get by. And so maybe we're actually seeing the real Rom in that moment. And then, that kind of makes the rest, without spoiling, the rest of his story in the rest of the season make more sense as well. But I do have one nitpick.
Get him.
But he's a hologram. So how does Vic Fontaine die? And then what on earth could they possibly have been arguing about that was worth shooting him? Wouldn't he have been on our side? Like, I mean, I'm Nog in that, or Rom in that moment. I guess I'm doing too much math on which side he's supposed to be on. So I think it's funny that it happened, but I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, there's so many fun little one-liners in this episode.
I can never tell what side we're on. Like you said, isn't that the side that we're on? I'm like, I don't even know what side we're on. I get so confused.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening in that universe.
I'm kind of rooting for Worf and Garrick in a way. Kind of the gruesome twosome, right? We gotta.
Oh, speaking of that, I wanted to add that. So you mentioned the scene where Worf put on the gloves and punched the guy.
Yeah.
And the guy he punched is our very own Dennis Madalone, stunt coordinator.
And wasn't he playing another role too? He plays like the guy with I put that in the note. I'm like, is that Dennis? But I was looking for the handkerchief on his thigh, but I guess he doesn't do it when he's in, in wardrobe.
No, that was Dennis. I knew it. I was like, as soon as they said, I need somebody to come. And I looked in the back and you can see it was Dennis Madalone with the Klingon makeup. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, he's about to do a stunt.
Yep.
And they just basically he fell backwards and that was the old stunt.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Good old Dennis. He gets a lot of names on this show. So does Homer Frizzell. We talked about you a lot earlier before the free-for-all, but what we said, you'll just have to wait and see. How are you?
Well,
and are you on the yay or nay side of Mirror Universe shows and episodes?
I am well. Generally speaking, I'm on the yay side. I feel as though they lose some of their allure when the risk is lower. So it's kind of like they're just going next door. You leave a pad on a table and Zach is able to create a way to get over there to make money. Whereas the other Mirror Universe episodes, it's like if you're found out, you could be killed and you have to be able to pass and exist in this universe without being discovered. And that was a big risk. And now it's like you have Rom and Quark who are dead in this universe. It's like, yeah, whatever. Okay, take them into custody. And then like the custody was kind of cushy. I mean, I was like, when did these guys in the Mirror Universe go soft like this? So I wanted the stakes to be higher. I wanted to be a lot more risky, a lot more dangerous. And I felt like the Mirror Universe characters were pretty one-dimensional, like just playing their certain, okay, Worf is angry, kind of insecure. Garrick is just this, I don't know how you want to describe the character, but certainly one note. And the Intendant had some complexity, which is great. Mm-hmm. But other than that, even Brent didn't really have that much else going. He's a nice guy, and that was it. So I wanted a little more development there. And I think they also kind of telegraphed virtually everything to us as far as Ezri and relationships. So I don't know if Jake Sisko has guessed the IMDB score, but I'd be curious to know what that was. I'll finish up here then. So the other thing, it struck me as odd. I get the joke itself in that you have an invisible cloaking device, which tells me that this device has its own power. And then I'm wondering, does this device that has its own power, does it need to be connected all that well in order to make the other thing that it's connected to invisible? In other words, do you just put it on the dashboard of the ship and bam, it's invisible? Could you make a planet invisible? Like, what sort of connections and how does it work that you have a ship that has nothing to do with cloaking ever, and then you take this completely other universe technology and just, it's easy, bam. Anyway, I'll stop there. It wasn't my favorite. I thought it should have been higher stakes all around, and I should have been a little bit scared for the safety of the characters that I love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Homer's hungry. You could tell because he said steaks twice. He said ramen, Quark. So that's all food talk there. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, and I am having steak for dinner.
See, it's sneaking in.
Steak on the mind.
The stakes couldn't be any higher.
They could have been.
Neither could Worf.
Yeah, I agree with.
I'm talking about your stakes.
I agree with you a little bit about the like when they showed Zek in the cell, basically getting a massage. I was like, he's not in any kind of life or death situation. Like it felt like he was really on a vacation.
Riza.
Yeah, but I didn't see any like terror in him or torture or any like he looked like he was doing pretty good to me. So yeah, I do have to agree with you on that, Homer. I felt like the stakes weren't. I didn't feel anybody was in jeopardy at all at any real point. I was just following the story, but I didn't say, "Oh my God, Zek's going to be done," or maybe Quark's risking his life. It didn't really feel like that.
Well, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal is here, and she's going to tell you both why you're wrong. She was at the edge of her seat, white knuckle action, right?
I just love it. I mean, I don't love Mirror Universe, but I thought, first of all, it was so cool that Deep Space Nine did an arc within the show. Like that was really like innovative for that time. And then it's like a nice break before we get into like that last arc of Deep Space Nine. So I just love it. And the Ferengi are so cute, and I just can never get enough Grand Nagus Zek. But then, like, I know Faith mentioned it in the chat, and I say this every Mirror Universe episode. It drives me insane that Jake Sisko is the one person who was never born in the Mirror Universe, but exists in the real. Like every single other character was born in the other universe. Like, I just don't understand how that works. But otherwise,
I was waiting to see myself in this episode. I was the moment I was expecting to see Jake was when there was that showdown with Ezri and the Intendant. And they both had the guns pointing, and I thought Jake would just walk in and say, "Ladies."
But he wouldn't be Jake Sisko.
Yeah, but he would have been.
He would have been somebody else, but he wouldn't have been Jake Sisko because the Siskos never consummated or never had children. So.
Oh,
yeah, but how fair is it
every other
that
person was born in the
that we get?
Yeah, no, maybe he was born.
Jake
it's just not Jake as Jake Sisko.
Oh man, this is complicated. See,
if Homer had any say, he would be Steak Sisko.
Sorry, I love Rom as like our proxy also because like that's how I always feel when I watch Mirror Universe episodes. Like trying to like do the math. So I love that Rom is us and so cute about it.
All right.
And the way he does it too, by the way, he's like, I think he's sleeping and then he just wakes up really quickly and he says, cute. "I just realized something."
I love that he's like processing it during his REM sleep. It's so cute. I love Rom.
Cirroc, Homer wants to make sure we don't forget that Jake Sisko must guess the IMDb score today. He's not going to let it slide.
Well, now that I see the polling on Mirror Universe or alternate universe things, it looks like it's pretty split. It's either you like it or you don't, and there's really not too much of a gray area there. I lean towards the not liking it that much, with the exception of the Intendant, essentially. But all the other storylines are just hard for me to keep up with. I do like it when a Mirror Universe character comes to the Deep Space Nine universe, like the normal timeline. That I like better. I can handle that. At least I know they come from somewhere else, or they're the double or duplicate of somebody. So it's easier for me to digest. But that based on the fact that it's a 50-50 on the polling, I would say that I'm going to go right down the middle and say this episode's like a 7.1, 7.2 on the Richter scale.
How cool is it that Deep Space Nine is such a good show that when Cirroc says right down the middle, he says 7.1 because the bar is so high on Deep Space Nine that the middle is 7. Anybody else have any guesses?
Send it.
7.4.
It's not a 10, but it's a 9.
I'm sure. I bet you that's probably what it is. Let me check.
Yeah, right.
Okay, the answer, you guys, because all you naysayers about the Mirror Universe is 6.3.
That's ridiculous.
See, now you guys feel bad. You should be out there at least nining it.
Nining is a verb.
That's the second 6 in a row that we've had.
Scary.
That's ridiculous.
All these haters. But also The other cool thing that I know, like obviously this show will get aired later, but today's the 30th anniversary of the first day of principal photography on Deep Space Nine.
Wow,
Which
cool.
is like such an amazing anniversary, and like 30 years later, clearly it's better than a
30? 30.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, I guess that's about it. We've done a lot of good here. Very special thanks to ARMIN SHIMERMAN. Thank you to LeVar Burton for directing a bunch of episodes on Deep Space Nine and giving us stuff to talk about. Also, thank you to TJ, Anil, Stephanie, Carrie, Tim, Melissa, Sue, Eve, Homer, Anne-Marie, and Faith for Cirroc, Lofton, and myself, and the great Nog up in the galaxy, Aaron Eisenberg. We thank you all for joining us. And until next time, always remember the 7th rule.